So we are going to talk about how to observe your AVD environment using SquaredUp. So a fair disclaimer, I already see some highs coming in the chat. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So the session that we are going to play is actually pre-recorded. That is in the interest of keeping data private for some of the dashboards that Ruben is going to show us. But they are fresh. They were created, or rather, the recording was made just last week. So all the dashboards, all the concepts, everything you see on the screen is very, very valid in the context of SquaredUp as a platform, and as well as what you can do with it. So with that, I will play the recording. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat window. Both Ruben and I, we are online, so we will be reading your chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them. With that, I'll play the recording now. Thanks again for joining us today. My name is Samir Maisakar, and I'm a DevRel engineer here at SquaredUp. Today, we are going to talk about observability for your Azure Virtual Desktop infrastructure using SquaredUp. And today, I have got a very special guest with us, Ruben, who's been using. He's quite an avid user of SquaredUp, I would say. So he loves the product, and he loves to test the limits and capabilities of the product. So we always get a ton of good feedback from him. Ruben, if you would please like to introduce yourself.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I work as an infrastructure architect in the manufacturing industry, and I have an experience for about 20 plus years being an IT professional, covering mostly Microsoft area.
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Ruben, for joining us today. And I'm sure this will be an insightful session. Before we start the actual session, I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do. The session is being recorded and will be shared later. And please post all your questions and comments in the chat to be addressed at the end. And of course, then please make sure to maintain a professional and friendly tone while interacting with others. Other than that, I think we are pretty good to go. So, and this is the agenda for today. We are going to start with importance of monitoring AVD to begin with, right? So why are we even here? Why do we want to monitor your AVD infrastructure? What good observability for AVD looks like, right? So this will include some of the KPIs or some of the key metrics that you should probably keep an eye on to make sure that your AVD is running, smoothly and is optimal. And then there will be some challenges, obviously, some monitoring, some AVD being like a vast infrastructure based. It's a scattered, it has a multi-component structure, right? So what are the challenges of monitoring your AVD infrastructure? And then some of the KPIs, right? So these KPIs we'll see on the dashboard itself that Ruben will show us. Then we'll very quickly, explain or describe what those KPIs should be and how SquaredUp fits in the picture, right? So all the monitoring, so now that we have identified the importance, we've identified the challenges, we identified the KPIs, then how do we implement this in practice, right? So this is where obviously SquaredUp will help you tremendously, and I will let actual dashboard do the talking. So hopefully the dashboard and Ruben will be able to convince you why SquaredUp is a good fit for this use case. And then we'll actually go through the dashboard. Ruben will show us the great, amazing dashboard that he has created and different graphs and tiles and KPIs that he has plotted on them. At the end, we'll probably ask Ruben to take some key takeaways from all these discussions. With that, I think we are ready to go, Ruben. I will hand it over to you. Please take it away.
Sure. So we start with why monitoring AVD is important. So I work in an IT environment or in an IT department, and our foremost target is to keep our services running and that also our customers are satisfied by them. And whenever there's a slowdown or maybe something isn't working, right, the IT hotline is being called and people need to start stressful their work. So instead, we prefer to have monitoring in place to know issues before the user notices them, ideally. also it's quite important to keep an eye on the infrastructure or on the services that we are using. So it's not our infrastructure anymore, it's the one by Microsoft, but still it's us who is in charge, who is the man in the middle to say between the IT services that are provided by Microsoft and the ones that are being used by our users. And without the visibility, yeah, we will just hear after things are happening, and and not before. So why is monitoring AVD is complex? So it's AVD is it's not just virtual machines and the application on it. It consists of many different components. So for sure we have the virtual machines. So to say the host where the applications are installed, but there are also other components like profiles, storage accounts, the networking part, the identity part, and all the bits and pieces need to be well configured. And all in all, it's became complex. So because it's many things that need to work together. Also, when the engineer introduced me into the environment that he and the team built, I was very surprised by the complexity that Azure is providing to it, because there are many windows that you need to open to really see the different components. And I just was puzzled why there's no single pane where I just can click and say, okay, this is my AVD environment, so it looks like, and this is how the components work together. So that was not the place. If you could go to the next slide. Cool. So what good observability looks like, I don't know, but I will show you later how it looks like for us, and I think it looks fine. So ideally, it's just one place, right, to see all the things that are important to make the service available, where we can see the health status of the environment, where we can see the current performance utilization, where we can see how the service is adopted by our users, and where we also can hopefully then see, okay, where could be a potential bottleneck, where could be something need to be improved or changed, and give us indications and guidance. That is what we expected and try to achieve. So when I started and thinking about how to build this dashboard, the first thought was, okay, which could be the KPIs for the ones that really matter, right? So these are which are not just nice to have, but for the ones that really should bring us good value. So first of all, it's the availability of the systems, right? To see the hosts, are they available or are they shut down? For example, we have configured some automation in here that during night times some VMs are being shut down for the sake of cost saving. So we would need to see if they're still running on the daytimes. We would also maybe spot if there's some problem with the agents that are running on those hosts. We would need to like to have a look on the performance to see if there's any extensive resource exhaustion that is happening, whatever there's too high CPU utilization or memory consumption. We also like to see something about our users, right? To not just say, okay, we provided the service, but we have no idea how many users are using it. So for sure, user adoption utilization is interesting. And another thing that is quite often leading into potential issues are changes, right? So whenever somebody is changing something, there's a potential of an issue. So Microsoft offers this change tracking tool or component which we activated, and it's giving us good insights of what changed in the environment. And last, by seeing the utilization of the different workloads that are being offered via AVD, we can also maybe identify trends, right? Which is the hottest application, which one maybe is not so used anymore or not so frequently used? Is it even making sense to have it on AVD, or perhaps should be installed on individual video clients, and and more. So how about SquaredUp, right? How does it fit into the picture? We started to use SquaredUp many years when we were using SCOM, Microsoft System Center Operations Manager, to monitor our data center workloads. And we we figured out that the dashboarding capabilities or the HTML dashboards of SCOM were not great. They were quite poor and difficult to be implemented and even worse to be interpreted. So we found SquaredUp in the market, and it just fit ideally into our requirement, since it was very easy to be configured, easy to use. We had found a way to share the dashboards to our users, and then just naturally how the time then evolved and we started to use cloud services. Also SquaredUp identified this requirement, and they started offering a SaaS, software as a service solution for for monitoring. So we were interested and also tried this out and saw that it also fits our requirements. And in the SquaredUp Cloud environment, there are quite a few plugins and options to connect to different peripheral systems and APIs. And for our AVD dashboard, I extensively use the KQL tile or component, which is then behind the Microsoft Custo query language that offers then querying log analytics table where it saves, and the Azure resources are sending their information to it. And there's no any there's no any storage required in SquaredUp, so the data is pulled in real time. There's also possibilities to set up alerting and notifications to Teams or via an email, and sharing of the dashboards is also quite key to us, so that there's no access to the Azure portal required, right? So which might expose any information that is sensitive to users, which they're not interested in actually. So we just can focus on the information that we would like to present. And all in all, just pointed us that SquaredUp was the right or is the right solution for the requirement. So finally, I would like to walk you through the dashboard after so much talking and show you a little bit around how it looks like, and later on that you also can ask questions about it. So I will take over the presentation. Okay, so I signed in already into SquaredUp Cloud. It's being connected to our Entra ID, so single sign-on was just working fine. And I will start just from the top, where it says then something about the system state and the performance. We see at the left top corner information about the hosts, which are either an error or an unknown state. We see a few of them. As mentioned before, that is on purpose, right? Because we are not running our host 24/7. We are covering different time zones, so always there's some shutdown. Luckily, there's nothing red, so that's good. We also have here an overview that shows the relation between the status unknown, which is actually turned off, and success, which means they are responding fine. Then to the right, we have information about the agent health. So there's also the agent installed on these virtual machines, which also is an indicator if the AVD service is running fine or not. Luckily, also here we just have most of the machines are fine. They're responding well. Some of them are unknown. Then we go down and we spot then information about the top CPU utilization. So to keep the graph or to keep the dashboard clean and not overloaded, I selected only the virtual machines which have the highest CPU utilization, and actually at the last few hours, the highest value here for one machine was about 40%, which is quite good. The next tile here shows the relation between CPU and memory, right? Because sometimes it also can help you to better understand your environment and see if if both are high, then most likely it will be a problem for a user. but if only one component is fine, whatever memory is 90%, then the Windows server or the Windows workstation still can pretty well handle this load if it's over a short period of time. And at the right side, then we see the top 5 for the memory consumption. And here we actually see already an indicator. There's one VM which had a CPU load about 93%, which could tell us, okay, perhaps we should look into this one for further analysis. But we did not get any user complaints, so should be fine. If we look down a little bit deeper, we see then availability information for our storage accounts. So there are 2 storage accounts be configured, one that keeps the user profile and another one that keeps metadata for the images, AVD images. And we can see here the consumption of the storage, right? We can see that it grew over time. We also can see here the current size and also how did it look like a few days ago, and also have some information about the transactions that are keeping the storage account busy or keep it working. Similar then here for the image gallery meta storage. Next point here is about the user adoption and the consumption of the service. And as mentioned before, for sure, since we are offering this service to our users, we would like to see how they're using it. And you also can see that over the last 3 months, utilization also grew, which is also a very, very good sign. So the service is adopted pretty well. We can see the countries from which the users are accessing the service. And we also see a little bit of information from which gateways they are connecting to the service. So the gateway itself is not configured by us. It's rather just running in the background, and we can find this information. And it's fully managed by Microsoft, so we don't have any impact to it. It's just for us to better understand the service and the utilization from the users, from where are they connecting to it. Below of this one, we see information for the software changes. As mentioned earlier, this information is provided by the change tracking capability that you can enable for virtual machines in Azure. And you can nicely see, okay, what happened on these machines. We can see, okay, there was a software that has been installed, another software that was modified, another software that was then removed, like here Obsidian. And we have some more some more information. So you could also see whatever Acrobat Reader or something like that. Again, it's about understanding your environment and seeing what is happening in there. We have information about the host distribution, right? Which host has the most sessions or serving the most sessions in here, and which also helps to better know what's going on. And again, also another view on this environment to see how about the workloads by memory. When I talk about memory workload, it stands for either a shared desktop, but it could be also just an application like here Eclipse. That's a developer environment, which is then has an average load about 62% of memory. Last, then we are going to utilization and statistics. And this is also pretty neat because it helps us again to see, okay, how many users are using which kind of service. And again, I took a top 5 of the workloads. So the workloads which have the most users, and we can also identify them, right? We see in this bar chart, for example, that we have quite a steady number of SAP GUI users, which is about 100 currently, and other applications that are hosted. We also have here Active Directory users and computers, right? Which also tells you that, okay, our IT department is also pretty heavily using this service so that they do not need to have this component installed on their workstations. And on the right side, then I just have increased it to the top 10 workloads. It pulls the same information, but we see more applications in here. And last and least, we see then, for example, information about the top 10 users per host, which is also interesting. We could see that, for example, they have 4 hosts, which they're running this kind of application, and There are 47 users per host, and at the right side, there's another combination, interesting information. I would say it's about the app launches, and the distinct app speed behind that. And we also see then the host, which has so much. So we can really find out with all the log information which are the most heaviest hosts or the most busiest hosts. And as mentioned also previously, I'm heavily using or actually it's just purely the KQL, which is behind all of this information. And if you would like to see how this looks like, then if I click on the edit button and here on the pencil, then we see all the parameters that can be chosen. You have to select the right log analytics workspace. And if you click then down in the parameters section, you see then the KQL query that I just have entered in here. It will spot if there are any typos or mismatches here and indicate this if it works or not. And let me close it again. And here at the right side, you're able to choose the visualization. As we can see here, this is about a bar chart, right? But I could choose other visualization types in here, like a donut or something like that. However, for this, the bar chart makes most sense. Similar to this one, we have then here, it's about a line chart, right, where you see the user utilization because it's just a number, which is showing here the number in relation to the time, of course. Again, behind that, we see then the KQL, which is responsible for this one. And I have to admit that in the former days, I wrote a lot of KQL by myself. But since the advent of the Microsoft Copilot and GitHub Copilot, I just simply type in what I would like to see, and this is how I also got the information for all of these tiles that I showed around previously. Is that okay? Please show me the users per workload, and I hit return, and it directly understood what I was talking about, and it returned a fully functional KQL command to me. So I just pasted it in. So no need to even worry for this part, right? So it's a lot of KQL, but to be honest, I just use plain English to get these information and to get what I want and paste it in and saw that it's just started working. And also another nice aspect is in here, I could click here on the sharing button and I could say I could share it with the whole organization, for example, which is then says, okay, that every user who's in our organization can open it since there's a matching of the user sign-in principle. Or alternatively, I could even share it with Anonymous if I would like to say so. We have disabled it for our instance, but theoretically it could be possible. Yeah, I hope that was helpful to you, give you some inspiration for your own dashboard.
Thank you, Ruben. That was really useful. And what really, struck out to me was from your dashboards, it's not only you've created one for AVD, your use case, but you've, I think, demonstrated quite a good principles of creating good dashboards, like good, useful, impactful dashboards, right? What I mean is just restricting the number of items you show in the dashboard simply, right? So I saw that you're picking only the top 5 or the top 10, and you're only showing the hosts that are not healthy, right?
Exactly.
Because in this space, I think everybody likes to see green things, but operationally they are not really useful, right? A green dashboard looks nice, but it is not very functional. It is not very, insightful. It's not very,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I love the fact that you've actually narrowed down the problem and actually hitting it exactly on the nail, instead of just supporting data. The other thing I think that stood out to me quite a lot was that you've actually combined data in a single tile from different sources with KQL, right? So it's not only one metric per tile, but I saw in some places, like, for example, you've combined memory with CPU because these are the things that you see together in context, right? So
Correct.
exactly like you said, CPU and memory on its own can go, up and down, but they have to simultaneously go wrong for a serious performance hit for any infrastructure or any service.
Correct. What also made it what also made a good impression to me, I had always the idea, how can I figure out which application consumes the most memory, right?
Yeah.
And so I just put this two together. I mean, these different tables, and I told Copilot, hey, you can see the performance counter in here in this table. You can see the application utilization on that table, right? And then by matching the times, right, and the host name, I could get this picture, and it was quite. I mean, you have to think a little bit how about what's your question, but it was able to show it to me, right? And I got the calculator and I said, wow, that's fantastic. I just copied it into SquaredUp, and I can see it. I can really see, okay, what is the most the applications that took too much memory or that consume too much memory or CPU utilization. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, and it's quite powerful again, like you said. It's really a good tips for anyone who's wanting to build a dashboard for their use cases to actually just sit down and strategize as to what you actually want to see on a dashboard before writing a single line of KQL or a single line of natural language in Copilot, right?
Yeah, correct,
So
correct.
yeah, and so that was really interesting to see the way that you created those dashboards, and hopefully you won't have to go to Copilot too often in recent like in upcoming days. Hopefully there would be some AI assistance in the product itself soon to come. Uh,
Okay.
so that would be another thing to look forward to. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruben. Thank you for your time and thank you for showing us your amazing dashboard. Really a lot to see, really a lot to learn from not only the AVD use case, but also the good dashboarding principles like we talked about. Right, cool. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to ask Ruben. Please post them in the chat and we will go through the questions now. Okay, that was great. I think I will give it a minute or two, maybe for the audience if they wanted to ask a question. So I see Brett has been creating some AVD dashboards already. So that's great to see. So if is anyone else also creating any dashboards, or do you have any questions for Ruben or even for Brett, maybe while he's here, he's building his own dashboard? Okay, we'll just wait a minute, Ruben, and then I guess we can. Oh, there is a question. Will Ruben be able to share his current dashboards to be used as a template?
That's a good question. So I have a blog post actually which describes all the KQL queries behind that. Maybe I can send it over the next time or in the next chance, and so that you
Absolutely.
also see what is behind what make the magic happen.
Yeah. So I don't think he will be sharing us like the actual dashboards with screenshots because he obviously has his production data in it. But like he said, he will definitely send over some KQL screenshots that are powering these dashboards. Another question is, does this apply to SquaredUp DS for SCOM version? Yes, you can create web API tile with DS version also, but if you're using an EAMX license for your SCOM DS, you already have access to cloud. But so with cloud, it's not only about web API, you've also got a bunch of other plugins like the supporting infrastructure that you may also be running, or most probably are running. If you're running AVD, you are running Azure. So instead of building everything with Web API, you can actually use the Azure plugins and all the plugins surrounding it. So yeah, it is possible if strictly in the case of AVD, but again, it's better to see in the context of the whole infrastructure. Then definitely, I would say go with the cloud.
I think there's also some log analytics tile available in the SquaredUp DS tool,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But you get a lot of more functionality if you're using the the SquaredUp Cloud tool, because
Cloud,
it
yeah.
has, for example, the service health just as a predefined selection, or you can say I would like to choose this to use drag and drop for finding the metrics that correspond to service in there. So you have, well, we are working much more convenient, and it's more effective to work with SquaredUp's Cloud than with SquaredUp DS. But technically, I think still there are possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Great question. Thank you, Sebastian. Any other questions? All right. I think in the interest of time, if there aren't any more questions, I think it's about time that we, actually put our learning to test. So if you want to create your own AVD dashboard or any other dashboard based on any data source at all, feel free to sign up to SquaredUp Cloud for free. And if you are an existing SCOM DS customer, actually, like I was saying, if you have an EMX license, then you already have access to cloud, right? So you don't even need to do anything extra. Of course, in this whole process, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we are very happy to help you building your dashboards. Now, with that, I don't see any more questions coming in. So let's call it a day, Ruben. Thank you again for spending the time to come join this webinar. And everyone else, thank you for joining. And until we meet next time, happy dashboarding.
Thank you.